Thank you and welcome to the first of our Great Debates series, where we look at both sides of the questions and events of our day. Today our topic is abortion. Let me introduce our guests for today's discussion. Dr. Debbie Tabor, social scientist and mother of three. And Dr. Anne Leaf, GP, and also mother of three. Now doctors, neither of you have personally undergone abortions. First, let me ask why you think you are qualified to enter this discussion. Dr. Tabor.
Thank you, Marilyn. I think every woman is qualified to be on this panel. The issue of abortion affects all women, whether she had to make that difficult decision or not. For too long, women's rights have been decided by men, be they in politics or religion, and it is time women stand up and let their voices be heard on matters that affect them, such as the choice to do with their bodies as they decide. But to answer your question more directly, I have been in social work for over 30 years and have had to deal with the horror of unwanted births and backstreet abortions before the Roe v. Wade became law. But above all, I am a woman and a mother.
Thank you, Dr. Tabor. How about you, Dr. Leaf? I have been a doctor for over 30 years and have also dealt with the problems that Debbie mentioned. As you know, general practice is not just about disease management. We also counsel patients on a daily basis on any matter likely to affect their mental, social, and physical well-being. Unfortunately, helping young women navigate the issue of abortion has become all too frequent over the years. And what is worse is that almost invariably, the other individual involved in the pregnancy, that is the male, is not part of the conversation whatsoever. But like Debbie, I think my best qualification is being a woman myself. There is a sort of collective consciousness influenced largely by the media and public figures. And I think it is important that we all contribute to this consciousness, if we can. Texas has recently passed laws banning abortions less than 6 weeks. Your comments, Dr. Tabor.
I think that is absolutely frightening. To think that one of the largest states in one of the largest democracies in the world can take back 50 years or more at the stroke of a pen. They have taken away the basic right of a woman to choose to do with her body as she sees fit. A right that was won after a long and bitter struggle. It will be up to a woman once more to make the powers that be understand that they won't have their rights trampled on any longer.
Of course, a woman has a right to do with her body as she sees fit. But that cannot be an absolute right. All our rights to life, liberty, housing, medical attention, etc., all our rights come with a caveat that we harm no one in exercising them. We simply cannot kill someone to use his heart, even if our life depends on it. We cannot take the life of another, especially someone as innocent as a baby, simply because it is inconvenient to a chosen lifestyle. Even so, abortion cannot be considered a basic right, like the right to life, liberty, etc. Our basic rights have their root in what is called the natural law, and are common to even the most so-called primitive societies. Our basic rights are those necessary for the smooth running of society. Laws, on the other hand, are made and repealed for various reasons that have more to do with the popular societal trends and political aspirations than morality. The purpose of laws is to make society safe and better. I hope to show you that abortion makes society less safe and less good, and so has no useful purpose in our law books.
How can you say that as a woman? It's your body and you should get to choose.
As I have said, we do not have any unrestricted rights. We cannot choose to inject or ingest illicit drugs, however much we find it pleasurable. That is why smoking is frowned upon. It not only damages the user's body, but that of others, through passive smoking.
I don't believe this. How can you compare the choice to end of unwanted pregnancy with smoking? Smoking costs society millions of dollars in medical care for damaged lungs, not to mention the environmental costs. Abortion is a personal choice that affects no one else, but often allows a woman to pursue the life she chooses, and that would not be possible if she were to continue the pregnancy. How many women would not be able to pursue their careers if they were burdened by an unwanted pregnancy?
I'm afraid in today's world there are very few purely personal decisions. While the cost of abortion has not been formally calculated as that of smoking, I'm sure you would be aware of the often long-lasting effects on the woman in terms of depression, guilt, etc. Not to mention the obvious cost to the baby, that of loss of life, and to society in terms of the wasted human potential of his lost lives.
So doctors, you seem to be coming from two quite different views. I'm interested to know how you advise women who come to you thinking of having an abortion. Dr. Tabor.
Let me first say that no woman ever takes a decision to abort lightly. It is possibly one of the most difficult decisions she will ever make. I think it is important to first empathise with her struggle and offer reassurance and support that whatever she chooses should not be riddled with guilt. I would not pressure her one way or the other. After discussing her particular situation and reasons for thinking about an abortion, I would put her in contact with the nearest family planning services where she can have a safe procedure should she so decide.
Dr. Leaf, would you have any objections to such an approach?
In general, not at all. I fully agree that empathy is key. It is undoubtedly one of the most difficult times for any woman, finding out that you are pregnant, and more so when it is unexpected and inconvenient. When women come to see me about this, they are often distressed and confused. They rightly expect that as their GP, I would give them sound, balanced advice. I suppose that as a doctor, I look at this largely as an issue of informed consent, which in most cases is sorely lacking. If a patient comes to me for any procedure, I make sure they understand the procedure in as much detail as possible. And I outline the possible risks of doing the procedure versus the likely outcomes of not doing it, if choosing an alternative course. I think it is important that the woman understands the developmental stage of the baby they are considering aborting. For example, I explain that by 4 weeks, the baby has primitive nerve and blood cells, and a primitive but beating heart. By 8 weeks, the nervous and circulatory systems are developed, bone and gut are developing, facial features, limbs, including fingers and toes, are recognizable. By 12 weeks, the baby is fully formed, even though only 10 centimeters long and 30 grams in weight. I explain the abortion procedure likely to be used, depending on the stage, whether suction, dilation, dissection or other.
What a horrible experience that consultation must be to the poor, distressed woman seeking support. All you've managed to do is multiply her guilt 100-fold, where you should be supportive of whatever decision she makes.
And I am. But most of the time, she is in my office, battling with less than clear ideas of what her options entail. I do not try to lead her one way or the other. But it is poor medicine and illegal to do a procedure without full and informed consent. And that means giving the raw facts, however gruesome. You say I only multiply her guilt, but isn't guilt itself evidence that deep down, we know that what we have done or are planning to do is wrong? We don't feel guilty when we help an old lady cross the street, but we do when we tell ourselves we are too busy to help. A person without guilt is not liberated, he is a psychopath.
Doctors, it seems to me that you are not so far apart as it may seem. You both want to support the woman in her decision, though you come at it from different angles. Dr. Leaf, you have consistently referred to the unborn as a baby, implying it is a human, but isn't that the real issue here? If the unborn is indeed a human being, then clearly killing it is wrong. But if it isn't, then it can be considered like any other tissue growth and be removed. If we consider it a human from conception, as some do, then abortion at any stage is immoral. But if, as others do, we consider it a baby only after birth, then even very late-term abortion seem fine. How do we resolve this?
You are completely correct. The discussion around abortion should not be about women's rights as such, but about the taking of another, innocent, human life. What distinguishes a modern Western society Or at least, what we hope distinguishes it is the way it cares for its most vulnerable members. We have laws against cruelty to animals. We are outraged when we see our elderly, our children, and women abused. Our hearts go out to people of other lands affected by poverty, war, famine, or other natural disasters, and we send millions in aid. Yet we treat our very own infants with such disdain as to even pretend they are not human. I put it to you that it is we who prove our inhumanity by practices such as abortion.
So when do you consider life to begin? At conception, at viability, at birth, when?
I believe there is a simple and obvious way to establish the time. We've just been thinking about it completely lopsidedly.
This I'd love to hear.
Scientists and politicians have debated this for years. There is no clear answer.
Scientists and politicians cannot give us the answer. Life's simplest secrets are not subject to science, and politicians' self-serving interests are even less reliable. I believe the only logical person to answer that question is the woman herself. Let's take a quick poll. Marilyn, at what stage in your pregnancy did you know, without a doubt, that that thing growing in you was a person? Debbie, what about you? In your 3 pregnancies, when did you first feel connected to your babies?
I must say, from the first day I knew I was pregnant with my son Adam, I felt that bond.
I agree, I did too, but lots of pregnant women do not have the connection, and certainly many of those seeking abortions don't.
I disagree. I believe they feel the connection as much as any of us. They know that there is a human being growing and depending on them. They know that it is absolutely wrong to kill that person, and they rightfully feel guilty about it. I put it to you that, in my experience, almost all mothers know that the baby is a living, growing person as soon as they know they are pregnant, and that is usually well before 6 weeks. But our imperfect human nature tries to justify what suits us. We try to fool ourselves that, if enough people agree with us, that makes it right. But our guilt gives us away. Deep down we know it is wrong, and no law will change that. Texas may be the only honest state we have after all.
Well, you've both certainly given us food for thought. Any last words to those mothers-to-be who might be watching?
It is your body. Don't let anyone try to deny you the right to decide what you do with it.
I'll just say, to any woman listening, that in all my years, I have never really met a woman who regretted having her baby, however difficult and whatever problems he or she might have, medically or behaviorally. But I have seen, over and over again, women who regret having an abortion. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctors Tabor and Leaf, and thank you all for watching. See you soon when we next discuss another divisive issue, euthanasia. Good night.